Hello, everyday leaders. I am coming to you from the Everyday Leaders 50 and 50 podcast studio. This is Melanie Ake, and it is, what day is it? It is Thursday, December the 26th. Oh my gosh. Okay. So get back in perspective. Somebody just posted, it's that time between Christmas and New Year's where you don't know what day it is, what time it is, maybe what state you're in because so many things are happening that are unfamiliar, right? We don't usually do this every day of our lives. It's that break time that we get, that we step back and say, okay, it's time to relax and reflect. So, I wanted to come to you because we are still doing our morning devotional. And here's what we're learning. This is so awesome. We decided to go through Luke and we stopped on the 24th, and then we started on with some of the short chapters of the leadership Bible so that we can go into the first of the year and start fresh with Nehemiah. So, this is what we've learned over the last couple of days. And it's been about intuition and values. And so I want you to reflect on these five things, these five areas of leadership, and see how you're showing up today and then what your goals are for 2020. So here we go. So it says five key things are first, your lifestyle, right? How do you show up? Are you a leader in your life, or do you see yourself as you want to be the one that takes the initiative? So, really reflect on these things. Are you doing the things to lead people, or do you just want to be the person that leads? It's totally different, right? Step back and think about, are you the one acting on it, or are you just waiting for your opportunity? Now is the time for you to be resourced and figure out what it's going to look like for you to actually lead and lead your life and lead others. So, in your lifestyle, right? What are the things that you're doing today to take that first step? Not being a follower, but being a leader in your family, in your church, in your career, right? What does that look like for you? Number two is with others and strangers. So, how do you act when you're around strangers in the room? Are you the one to step into that and introduce yourself first to make that connection? I have one of my friends that I've only known online, and I met her a couple of times. But when I first met her personally, I could feel the energy. I can always see it online. But when I met her personally, it was an instant gravitate, grab you, hug you, give that energy. And she stepped into that. She was that leader. She does that with everyone in her environment. So again, it's putting this into purpose. Do you go first or do you just want to be first? Right? And some of us suffer from anxiety. So anxiety can prevent us from doing the things that we want to do. But figuring out a strategy so that you can live with your life with success and really step into those things that can make you more confident, right? You don't have to do it all the time, but just think about the opportunities that you have to be first. So the first one was lifestyle. The second one was with strangers. The third one is owning responsibility. Oh, goodness. This is a great one. This has been a great lesson for me this year in how to determine when it's time for you to step up and make that decision so that you can move forward with your life. Right? Many times we think, oh, we're just in this and we have to push through it. But there are some times where we have to say, no more. I am going to finish this. I have to close this chapter so that I can move on and have different things that are waiting for me to open up those opportunities, right? And so that's what this talks about in owning that responsibility. Do you go first or are you waiting for others to take that responsibility? All right, so that's number three. Number four is in doing good by acting and not reacting. So reflect on those things that you can act on instead of reacting, being that proactive, making the list. What can you do for others Maybe you have a neighbor that needs assistance. Maybe you have those kids that they need a ride from school, from sporting events. Maybe you can be the one to start the carpool in January. Maybe you can be the one to initiate something at your church instead of being reactive. Most of the times when we become reactive, we start to pick apart the things that we don't and we're not in line with, right? And we begin to think of that as less value in our lives when we're reacting to something. When we're proactive, we can step into that. We can design things that really can add value to our lives. And you'd be surprised because when you do that, they'll add value to so many others. So find a way that you can really reflect on that in the end of 2019 so that you can step into 2020 and really start to show up and be a leader in the world. All right. And number five is modeling for others. So here we go, right? Number one is in your lifestyle to be able to go first instead of just wanting to be first. Number two is with strangers, how we engage and act. And when we're meeting someone for the first time. Number three is owning that responsibility. Number four is doing good and acting instead of reacting, right? And then number five is modeling for others. So if you can practice these things and learn how to be leaders of your life every single day and try to develop some strategies, a couple of things that you might be able to do things first, to step into that, to add value, to be a role model for those around you, for your family, for your friends, for your coworkers. It'll make a huge impact in your life. And just do one or two things every day. Maybe that's taking initiative to say hello to someone new in your building. Maybe that's taking the time to deliver cookies to a new neighbor. Maybe that's just picking up the phone and calling an old friend that you haven't talked to in a long time, right? I remember how we used to do that on Sundays because it was the free day with AT&T. But you can do that all the time now with unlimited packages, right? So you don't have to let those things create barriers in your life. Do those things. Step into that. Be that leader, right? I want to encourage you to think about these things this week as you go into 2020 and really intentionally make a plan to do one more thing to impact the world. It'll have a huge impact on you and in your heart. So I encourage you to be those everyday leaders in your life and let's change the world together. Have a great night. Get ready for New Year's, and I'll see you here real soon.